And so this week, I want to talk to you about a very important issue, one where the pendulum has swung so far that I believe it is causing real damage, not only to the fitness industry, but to you and your health. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, where armor is forged through mental, spiritual, and physical preparation. Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer. I am your host, Carl Wimmer, and I thank you again for joining me this week for another episode. As I do every week, I just appreciate you joining me on whatever podcast platforms you listen to, especially YouTube, as our YouTube subscribers are growing and our viewership continues to grow. So I encourage you to like and subscribe and share these episodes with all of your friends and family in the first responder community and anyone who is interested in health, fitness, and longevity as a whole. I join you this week a little more sunburned. It's starting to become summertime, and I hope you're ready. Need to shave the head. I've just been so busy this past week that, some things get away from you. But the fact is, health and fitness should never get away from you. You need to make sure that no matter how busy life gets, you prioritize your health, your fitness, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, time with your family, your loved ones, your spouse, whatever that looks like for you. Prioritize the most important things. Again, I encourage you to share these episodes with those who matter to you in your life. Well, this week is episode 3 of a series that we started on kind of the biggest lies or misrepresentations in the fitness industry, the biggest misconceptions in the fitness industry. And today is one of those episodes where I'm not really sure I could tell you that it's an absolute lie, but we have seen a pendulum swing in the fitness industry that I believe at this point is doing damage. You see, within the fitness industry, we go to extremes. We stay to one side over here and we preach X or Y for so long, and then the pendulum swings to this side and we preach this side of the issue powerfully and strong, when in reality, the truth is oftentimes in the middle. And so this week, I want to talk to you about a very important issue, one where the pendulum has swung so far that I believe it is causing real damage, not only to the fitness industry, but to you and your health. And it is the issue or the topic of cardiovascular exercise. The title of this episode is simply this: cardio does not suck. I want to share with you the truth about fat loss that everyone keeps getting wrong. Because see, back in the 70s and the 80s, you had people like Covert Bailey and others who were really pushing cardiovascular exercise. And I remember his commercials and talking about becoming a, quote, better butter burner. In other words, becoming someone who burned fat more efficiently, become someone who burned fat as part of your daily exercise routine. But somewhere along the line, over the last, I wouldn't even say 5 years, maybe less than that, cardiovascular exercise has become the villain. You simply look anywhere on TikTok or Instagram or any of these platforms where fitness influencers are becoming popular, and there is no shortage of influencers who want to tell you how cardio is the worst way to burn fat, and it's the worst way to lose weight, and it's the worst way to this and the worst way to that. And I just think scientifically, the pendulum has swung too far, and it's simply generating information that is not accurate. The bottom line is, when you see someone say that cardiovascular exercise is the worst way to lose fat, they are wrong. They are scientifically wrong. To flat out say that cardiovascular exercise is the worst way to lose fat, the worst way to lose weight, they're using hyperbole and they're using broad strokes in an area where it requires us to really dig down and learn something. In a world where we want shortcuts and easy answers, this is one where we need to actually dig down and look, because cardio should not be the villain. But you see it all the time. You see this tension with the influencers. You have the diet is the only way to lose fat influencers, that abs are made in the kitchen and you don't need cardio. Or you see the weightlifting influencers who say, no, weightlifting is the only real way or the best way to lose fat, because you gain muscle, and the more muscle you have, the more fat and calories you burn. There's been a resurgence of quotes from Arthur Jones, I believe is his name, Arthur Jones, the founder of the Nautilus weightlifting equipment. This guy who did a tremendous service to the weightlifting and the bodybuilding industry, an expert in many rights, but also incorrect in many of his statements, was very prone to hyperbole, very, very prone to exaggeration. And he was oftentimes quoted as saying that weightlifting was far more effective at burning calories than cardiovascular exercise, which is just scientifically not true. Or you have the biohackers who talk to you about getting in that zone 2, that zone 2 cardio, zone 3. You want to be right in that precious little rare zone, and you want to hold that for X amount of time through low intensity, steady state cardio, and that it fixes everything. Well, what we actually have is not truth. It's just the fact that we've overcorrected. We have gone so far that the truth has been lost. And I want to bring the truth back, because cardio doesn't suck. Bad thinking about cardiovascular exercise, well, that's what really sucks. It's our thinking. If we think that cardio is the answer, the panacea to all of our problems, well, that's one side that sucks. And if we think that cardiovascular exercise has nothing to contribute to fat loss or weight loss, well, that also sucks. Neither are true. Make no mistake about it. There is absolute truth. It is an absolute truism when you hear someone say you cannot outwork a bad diet. And in many cases, these influencers who say that cardio sucks for fat loss, or the cardio is ineffective for fat loss, that's really what they're saying. Because what we see in the fitness industry is someone goes to the gym in the morning and they get on the elliptical, or they get on the assault bike, or they get on the treadmill, and they enter in their numbers, and it always overestimates. And you look at how many calories you burned, and you think, yes, I burned 700 calories in 30 minutes on the treadmill. No, you did not. You absolutely did not, unless you were sprinting the whole time, or if you weigh 1,000 pounds. And you think, okay, shoot, I burned a good 600-700 calories on the treadmill. I can now eat an additional 600 or 700 calories and I'm okay. It just does not work that way. The bottom line is you need to be in a calorie deficit if you want to lose weight. You need to be in a calorie deficit if you want to lose fat. You need to give your body a reason to use the stored fat that is on your body. But the best and most efficient way to do that is in the kitchen. You need to really slow down your food consumption. You need to be in a calorie deficit. And there is some truth to the fact that cardiovascular exercise does not put you into a calorie deficit very efficiently, especially if you're overeating. You will never be able to do enough cardio to outwork eating at McDonald's 3 times a day. You just can't do it. The other thing that we need to realize that is actually more important than exercise in the gym is our daily total activity output, or what is oftentimes referred to as NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. What this is that what your body burns just by existing. It's called NEAT. And some people burn a lot more calories than others. I do not have a very high non-exercise activity thermogenesis, what is oftentimes referred to as a metabolism. Metabolism is largely your movements and body movements throughout the day. There's not this mystical metabolism inside of your body that's burning calories. It is how much are you expending every single day. We all know the kid who cannot sit still. I have a cousin whose child is he's an athletic kid. He's a young kid, and he has massive amounts of energy. He cannot sit still for nothing. He's bouncing off the walls. Even when he's sitting watching a show on the TV, he's jumping up and down. He's bouncing on the couch. He's rocking back and forth. He's moving. He's standing. He's sitting. He can't sit still. That is burning energy all the time. And he has a very high metabolism. Whereas myself, I can sit there like a rock and not move when I'm watching a TV show, and I'm burning relatively few calories. The total amount of calories you burn every single day through non-exercise activities is far more important than the actual exercise you're doing. But you can't really control that. That is something, if you drink coffee, if you're on, take caffeine, you take other fat burners that kind of amp you up a little bit. Okay, that helps a little. But overall, you need to have a grasp on how many calories you're burning throughout the day. Are you a high calorie burner naturally, or are you a low calorie burner naturally? I'm a low calorie burner naturally. Then, of course, resistance training. You got the resistance training folks who say, hey, that's what's most important. And for body composition, they're right. Building muscle, they're right. But you know, the difference between a muscular person and how many calories they burn and a regular person and how many calories they burn is so relatively insignificant in the big scheme of things that when someone tells you all you need to do is lift weights and build muscle because you'll burn a lot more calories that way, they're just not correct. So why are we being told that cardio is a terrible way to burn calories? Well, it's largely a misrepresentation. People, they understand that lifting weights preserves muscle better than cardio, and it absolutely does. And you need a good mix of both if you want to switch the way your body looks, if you want to change the way your body looks, if you want this beautiful body composition change, it requires both weightlifting and cardiovascular exercise. But the fact is, you need cardiovascular exercise to help you burn calories. It burns walking on a treadmill, jogging on a treadmill, using the elliptical minute for minute burns more calories than doing a set of curls. It absolutely does. You cannot go to the gym and exercise doing curls and tricep pull downs for 30 minutes and expect to burn as many calories as the person over on the treadmill. It's not going to happen. Yes, building more muscle does burn more calories, but you need to balance it out. There needs to be a balance in what you're doing. This anti-cardio idea has largely been an overreaction to the excessive endurance training that does in time interfere with hypertrophy. People who want to build large amounts of muscle cannot build large amounts of muscle whilst also doing cardiovascular exercise in excess. And so there's been a pushback in the larger muscle building industry, pushback against cardiovascular exercise, saying it will kill your gains, it will kill your muscle gains, it really isn't that great at burning fat, and it's going to kill your gains. None of those things are actually true. There's context and there are details that if you care about those things, if you care about being right, you will look past the Instagram influencers and look at what the details say. But the industry, the fitness industry, does not reward nuance. It rewards extreme behavior. That's why boring, full food group diets are being shunned and pushed to the side for carnivore or keto or fruit and meat and all these stupid, largely ridiculous diets, because the industry rewards extreme behavior. I know some people, I have some friends who have vacillated from carnivore to meat and fruit to this and that. They're always on something. You know, I think now they're on, they're organic. They do some organic thing. Instead of just following a basic, healthy, full food diet, wholesome food, whole foods, there's always a new extreme with these people that I know and with a lot of people within the health and fitness industry. And it shouldn't be that way. So with all of that being said, everything that I've said up to this point, what does cardiovascular exercise actually do? Well, there are 5 things that I can think of right off the top of my head that cardiovascular exercise does that benefits you regardless of what your goals are, but especially if your goal is fat loss. So all of these people who say cardiovascular exercise is horrible for fat loss, it's the worst thing you could do, they're just wrong. I can give you 5 things right now that show cardiovascular exercise is in fact good for weight loss. Now, don't get it twisted. Nothing will allow you to outwork a bad diet. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about context and minutia, something that so many influencers stay away from because they want to stay on the extremes side of things. But let's just talk about detail now. The first benefit of cardiovascular exercise is simple: energy expenditure. This is obvious, but it's underestimated. It's not magic, but it is math. It's mathematical, okay? If you burn more calories, you will be in a larger calorie deficit, and cardiovascular exercise burns more calories. As I've said before, the person jogging on the treadmill nonstop for 30 minutes is burning way more calories than the person who is doing a set of curls, sets down, rests for a few minutes, does another set of curls, sets it down, rests for a minute, then does a set of overhead presses, sets it down, rests for a minute, and they go for 30 minutes. The person on the treadmill burnt way more calories. It's not close. And anyone who disagrees with that, you're just scientifically wrong. No, it's not magic. Again, it's not magic, but it will allow you to burn more calories, which allows you to be in a calorie deficit. You can't argue against that. Now, again, if you're filling your plate full of Twinkies and fats and ho-hos and ding-dongs, no, you're not going to cardio your way out of that. And you shouldn't even think the cardio allows you to eat that way. But it does burn energy. It does burn calories. Second benefit of cardio is it is a great adherence tool when you're in a calorie deficit. So it is an adherence tool. I use it all the time for this. And what I do is it allows me to eat more food while staying in that deficit. So for example, right now, I am in a very steep calorie deficit as I'm preparing to go on a cruise. And on days that I exercise, I'm able to eat more and still stay in this extreme calorie deficit. Whereas today, because I took the day off from working out, I am freaking hungry right now because I have not burned any additional calories in the gym. I have not spent any time on the assault bike. I have not done any burpees. I've not done any low intensity, steady state cardio. And so I have to regulate my calories and be in a calorie deficit strictly by not putting food in my face. Okay. Whereas if I were to go exercise and go do a 30-minute low intensity, steady state cardio session, I could eat another 300 calories today and still be in a deficit and I'd feel great. But instead, I'm going to just suffer with the hunger. So cardiovascular exercise is a great adherence tool, keeping you and allowing you to adhere to your calorie deficit. The third benefit of cardiovascular exercise is it allows for appetite regulation. Very simply put, people who do cardiovascular exercise oftentimes feel less hungry after their session. If I were to go out and do a session right now, my hunger would largely be satiated by the time I was done. So not only could I eat more, but I'd be less hungry. So it is great for appetite regulation. The fourth benefit of cardiovascular exercise is recovery and conditioning. If you do a hard weightlifting session. Now, weightlifting is my prime exercise. It's what I like to do. I like to build muscle. I like to build strength. And so weightlifting is priority for me. But let's say I'm really sore. My back hurts. Everything is just kind of rough. There is no better way for me to recovery than through cardiovascular exercise. A nice, low-level cardiovascular session allows for better recovery, better conditioning, better training quality. The fifth and final thing I want to talk about with cardiovascular exercise outweighs all of the others put together. It is why you should always do cardio. It is why you should focus on cardio. It is why every human on the planet should be doing their cardiovascular exercise. And that is because of the most important muscle in the body, the heart. Your cardiovascular system. There is nothing that takes the place of cardiovascular exercise when it comes to your heart health and the cardiovascular system, your lung health, your blood markers, your biomarkers, metabolic flexibility. Nothing is better than cardiovascular exercise. And that includes zone 2 cardio, zone 4 and 5 cardio, VO2 max cardio. I've done episodes on VO2 max. I've done episodes on cardiovascular exercise. Go back and watch them because there is nothing that is more important for blood pressure regulation, cholesterol regulation, LDL, your LDL, your lipids, than cardiovascular exercise. It makes you stronger. Bottom line, it makes you harder to kill. It is so important that we take care of our heart, our lungs, and our cardiovascular system. You can have the prettiest biceps in the world, but if your heart is weak, I would never trade you, ever. I would not trade you for that. And cardiovascular exercise is king when it comes to heart health. So those are the 5 top benefits of cardiovascular exercise. Now, I can hear some of you saying, well, wait a second, you're talking about adherence and diet adherence and calorie deficit. You'll just eat it back. That is not true. That is a misconception. Yes, compensation, eating the calories back does exist, but it's not absolute at all. And the fact is that based on the type of cardiovascular exercise you prefer to do, it varies a lot on whether you'll eat it back or not. Those who do high intensity interval training oftentimes are more hungry, and they are prone to eating back the calories plus surplus calories more than those who do low intensity steady state cardio. But humans are not perfectly homeostatic calculators. And so when you're out there burning calories, your body's not, ooh, shoot, I need to eat all that back anyway, and I'm going to be more hungry. It's just not true. Yes, when you get down to a certain body fat percentage, for me, as soon as my body drops below 14% body fat, I am hungry all the time. That's just me. I'm a fat kid. My body likes to be fat. My body likes to store fat. And that's just my burden to bear. You might be the same way. When I drop below 14%, 14% body fat, and I start getting down to 13 or, Lord forbid, 12% body fat, hunger is a constant companion. It's just something I live with from morning until night. My body is hungry. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to start stuffing my face when I go do cardio. No. For instance, I have self-control. For instance, I can regulate the calories I take in. I can eat a gigantic salad. I can eat a massive, massive amount of fish, salmon, tuna fish, low calories, high protein, and high satiating foods. Make no mistake, some people will compensate. You'll compensate. You'll eat more if you do more cardio, sometimes up to 30, 40, even 60%. But some people compensate at 5% or not at all. They don't eat extra at all. So this whole idea that you'll just eat it back is not true. This variability is exactly why cardiovascular exercise is so useful. It's so adaptable based on you. If you find that HIIT cardio makes you more hungry and you find that you eat it all back anyway, you can switch to LIST cardio, low intensity steady state cardio, and see if that works better for you. You're not stuck in this cycle of doing cardio and then eating all the food back. It's just not true. But won't cardiovascular exercise kill your gains in the gym? No. Yeah, interference in muscle growth does exist, but in most cases, it's your extreme high endurance, high volume cardio fanatics. And I don't say that in a mean way. The marathon runners who they have a hard time building massive amounts of muscle. To be a marathon runner and a bodybuilder would be counterintuitive. But all bodybuilders do cardio. Your most muscular, most steroided out Mr. Olympia competitors are doing cardio to burn fat. They just are. It does matter what kind of cardio. It matters the amount of cardio, the type, whether it's low intensity or high intensity, the duration, the amount, the recovery. All those things matter. The problem isn't cardio. It's doing too much of everything all at once and not recovering. That's the problem. So let's bring this together. What should you do? What is the practical application that you should apply in the gym? What you should do? First of all, lock in your diet. Again, I completely agree that you cannot outwork a bad diet. You'll never outwork the kitchen. So lock in your diet. And then add in 2, 4, 5 cardio sessions a week, 20 to 40 minutes a day. You could add in fasted cardio if that's how you prefer. It really does not matter at the end. It's total calorie expenditure that matters. But if you prefer fasted, that's great. If you prefer fed cardio, that's great as well. But add in 2 to 5, 6 sessions of cardio a week, or add in walking to increase your daily caloric expenditure every day. You could do incline walking, zone 2 steady state cardio. Be consistent, not intense, right? Don't punish yourself. If you eat a donut, don't go out and say, now I must be, there's actually a term that is called cardioanorexic, or cardiobulimic, I should say, where you're not throwing the food up, you're not regurgitating the food you eat, but you go out and you try to burn every calorie that you consume. And it can become a mental disorder. And so you want to be careful with that. The bottom line is this: regular, moderate aerobic activity is strongly associated with improved cardiovascular and metabolic health. And so you should be doing it. You absolutely should be doing it. Do not neglect cardio. Stop listening to those who say that cardio is the enemy of fat loss. It's ridiculous. Stop listening to those who say it's either or, because it's not. Cardio doesn't suck. It's the confusion about cardio that sucks. Well, that's it. Thank you for joining me again this week on First Responder Fitness. Make sure you share this, like, subscribe, and tune in for the best, most up-to-date, most scientifically accurate, not the extreme radical nonsense information in the health fitness industry, especially if you're in the first response industry, firefighter, police officer. Love you guys. I'm Carl Wimmer with First Responder Fitness, encouraging you, as always, be good to yourself, be good to others, and as always, stay safe, my friends.